the thing that struck us so much is that the analysis was so one-sided and was delivered with such an air of certainty that it was particularly troubling because you never should be that certain about things. And the reason why we think this is important is because we don't think this is the last time these sorts of analytic mistakes can be made. Hi, I'm Eliot Cohen, the Arleigh Burke Chair in Strategy here at CSIS. And I'm here with my colleague Philip O'Brien to talk about our recent report, The Russia-Ukraine War, a Study in Analytic Failure. Phil, do you want to introduce yourself?
And I'm Phil O'Brien. I'm a non-resident senior associate at the Arleigh Burke Chair in Strategy at CSIS and a professor in strategic studies at the University of St. Andrews.
And the report that we've written is a study of the military analysis that was done of the Russian and Ukrainian militaries and the prospect of a war before the full-scale Russian attack in February of 2022. And we carried a little bit beyond that. We've written it because we believe the lessons of that analytic failure are very consequential and are still with us.
We were both drawn to this very early after the full-scale invasion. In fact, Eliot got in touch with me. And I think as historians, we were both quite concerned with the way war had been perceived to that point. This idea of a short, sharp war with a decisive result, one side dominating on the other and moving on. And it was that shared concern that let us think, well, we need to study how this idea came about, because that, I don't want to say never, but basically never happens in war.
One of the things we did was to put together a very large database of reports and interviews and podcasts and so forth with the help of terrific research assistants at St. Andrews and here at CSIS. And I think the thing that struck us so much is that the analysis was so one-sided and was delivered with such an air of certainty that it was particularly troubling because you never should be that certain about things. And the reason why we think this is important is because we don't think this is the last time these sorts of analytic mistakes can be made.
This isn't a naming of names exercise or a blaming of anyone. I think what we're both motivated is the idea that we cannot afford to have this happen again. If we make other fundamental mistakes about what a war is like, looking at, say, the Indo-Pacific, it will be much worse than what we're seeing now with Russia and Ukraine. So it's so important we learn these lessons, and that as a community of scholars and analysts, we actually all do better.
And I think that's really the point of the exercise. You know, it's very rare, particularly in analytic communities, to go back over your earlier mistakes. You know, like doctors, you tend to bury them. And that's not really adequate. So we've written it very carefully. As Phil has said, we don't name names in the text, but we're pretty unsparing in our analysis of what went wrong and why.
Because we do have to learn. I think that's where we ultimately come down. Yes, we don't want to offend anyone or name names, but if we don't learn from this, if we pretend everything was fine, then we will simply make the same mistakes over again and with a worse result.
To read the full report, The Russia-Ukraine War, a Study in Analytic Failure, please visit csis.org.